Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Character Building. This week we're going to be continuing and picking up from last week, where, as you can see here, I have quickly taken the proportions from the sketch and made a quick, rough outline of the profile view of this character. I'm starting, since it's more or less a general character. It's not really like a very blocky character. It's kind of like more like a Disney character. So I've taken that and just drawn a circle because that's often, it's a good way, it's a good base to start from. And I've taken, as you can see, I keep looking back and forth, right? So my reference now is not the material I used to make the model, at least not at this point. But it's the I'm sorry, it's not the model. What is it? The sketch I made from last week is now my model, or it's my source of inspiration. It's my goal. I'm matching it, not literally, but it's my source of inspiration. As we speed through this here, you see the two-toned head shape will come in handy later on for new drawings of faces and head shots. Blocking out the planes of the head, the side and the front and the forehead, so I can get a better idea of depth, right? Because even in the profile view, there's depth. And again, this is, I'm constructing it, but I'm also still playing with it. It's not finished in a sense that these are not finalized designs. And the final design will only be at the very end of these several weeks. But you need to have a place to start, and because you don't know exactly how it's going to look in the front yet, in the front view. And it may look, completely weird, and you might want to change that, in which case you'll have to go back to this one and just kind of tweak the lines, just to make sure that the front view and the profile view look good in both directions. So making my pupil. A little trick there is you can make the pupil stick out just a little bit, and it's an old Disney trick actually. Apparently so, old animation trick. So I'm making notes here already. I wanted to capture the downturned eyes, and if you don't know what that means, it's basically that the corner of the eyes rest just kind of below the center of the eyeball. So if you kind of put a dot where the middle of the eyeball would be, the corner of the eyes would fall below that, and the larger arc would be over the top of the eye instead of the bottom. And upturned eyes are the opposite. They kind of, where the corner of the eyes sit above the center of the eyeball. You see a lot of designs like that too, Especially in the female designs, tends to happen more often. Blocking in more planes here, you can see I've gotten the cheek shape kind of fleshed out there. I noticed that in my drawing before that the mouth was closer to the nose than it was to the bottom of the jaw. I don't know how it's going to look in the front yet, but it was interesting, so I'm taking that and running with it for the moment. I wanted to cut away to a separate version of this before I got too detailed, so that I would still have that as a note. This is not going to be a finished drawing here. This is more or less just a visual note into itself, really, so that people know if you wanted to reconstruct it, this is how you start it. Before I got too deep into it, and again, all this can be adjusted and changed. In total, this video took about an hour to produce in real time. Starting to add some ear details there. If I recall, the nose shape did change in the end, at the end of this, so it doesn't end up being that. It was kind of not a very pretty looking nose there. The eyebrow shape is in itself is a subset of the shape between the eyeball and the brow line. So again, breaking it down, so you had a shape there that was between the eyeball and the eyebrow, and now you have a shape that breaks that down further. That's the eyelid. And all this is really, like I said, to establish a consistent structure. You can, and it's going to look like a Disney style because that's what I'm going towards. But after you get the structure down, you can apply any style you like on top of this. Because then you'll have the structure to work with, and you can go as abstract or as real as you want. But you can still do any style on top of it because you have the structure. As you can see here, I decided to make a dashed line making the corner of the eye. Those two shapes kind of meet up at an angle now instead of a straight line back. A little more graceful touch to it. The jawline I thought was a little too masculine, so I decided to smooth it out some more. It's a female character, so. Lip shapes. And now we're working into the hair now. Again, this is referencing the other one. I like the pointed shape going down to the front. And I think actually it looks like I went back and did the neck a bit there. So refining the brow again. Forehead. And don't be afraid at this stage to get, when you've established something you like, make a note of it. Just write it down neatly, and just keep going through as if you see something you like that you've done. You're experimenting the whole time. That hey, this worked out really well, this idea, and so now I want to make a note of that because this is something I want anyone who builds this character to really pay attention to. It's going to be a characteristic of this character that's going to separate them from other characters. I like that pointed shape of the hair. I was trying to make sure that in this case I wanted the hair shape to make a distinct dynamic shape apart from the head itself. So there's some asymmetry involved in, so there's no parallel lines between the hair and the skull shape there. Slowing it down a bit here. As you can see, we're working on refining the hair a little bit more. I didn't like the fact that that the little groove, or the V, the horizontal V there, lined up with the eyes too much, and I wanted a little bit more contrast in the shapes. So I actually pushed them away from the eye further, as you can see there. But I still kept that, pointed shape. Also, I was lining up too much with the peak in the back, so that also turned out for the better that way. Here's a note, one of my notes. I like the pupil size for this character. It seemed to work out. Trying to be neat. I don't have the best handwriting, but the lines that Mischief gives you if you put this in the background helps a lot in keeping things fairly neat. Almost like I'm back in kindergarten again. Here you can see I'm establishing proportions, and I don't go for specifics, and I would note this later on. MBS means medium, big, and small, respectively. And I would make a note of that somewhere else. And that's about it for this week. It would just keep going on like this, so I will see you guys next week. If you like this video and want to see more, click subscribe. Want to tell me what to draw? You can. Click on the link to my Patreon page.